This is the download recap from Sounds Profitable, the most important news from this week and why it matters to people in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. The download recap is brought to you by Podscribe. You can find out more at podscribe.com. Before we get into the top stories, just a quick reminder. Sports podcasts perform is one of those sayings the industry says without ever showing the work. On May 13th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Brian Goldmark from Locked On and Tom Webster are going to show the work, the attention numbers, the trust numbers, and the actual brand campaigns those numbers translated into. There is a link to register for this webinar in the show notes today. Podcasting has already overtaken TV. Here's the proof. Sound Insight's founder Ben Robbins shares data from the 2026 UK advertising landscape study built from a survey of 5,033 UK adults aged 18 plus in February 2026, covering 20 plus ad-supported media platforms across 4 dimensions: reach, attention, trust, and effectiveness. The survey replicated the US advertising landscape study methodology conducted by Sounds Profitable and Signal Hill Insights, creating a direct transatlantic comparison. For this post in particular, Robbins looks at the reach of broadcast TV in the UK in comparison to podcasting. Broadcast TV reaches 71% of UK adults monthly, but when you zoom in to age demographics, things get a little more divided. A quote from Robbins, quote, "Podcasting reaches 43% of UK adults monthly. Lower overall, yes, but among 18 to 34-year-olds, 60%. Podcasting reaches more 18 to 34-year-olds in the UK than broadcast TV. In the demographic that advertisers most want to reach, the one with decades of purchasing decisions ahead of them, podcasting has already overtaken the medium that still dominates media planning conversations." End quote. Robbins concludes that media planners targeting UK adults under 45 at scale can no longer view podcasting as niche. In some cases, it's the primary option. Video on Apple Podcasts doubled my plays. A case study by Justin Jackson. Transistor FM co-founder Justin Jackson shares the experience of the podcast's primary technology after it switched to publishing video episodes on Apple Podcasts, as it was the first podcast on Transistor to make the switch to Apple Podcasts HLS. Co-host Stephen Robles' screenshots show Apple plays, quote, roughly doubled, end quote, with engaged listeners rising from 707 on episode 121, the last episode before the switch to HLS, and up to 1,072 by episode 126 after the switch. Since launching video, Primary Technology has charted in the top 50 tech shows on Apple Podcasts, a notably competitive category. The success also seems to not be coming at the expense of other channels. Both the show's YouTube and audio platforms continue to perform at expected levels, signaling Apple Podcast video consumers aren't primarily existing audience members siphoned off of another platform. Robles notes a few downsides to the video transition, as feature road bumps are causing confusion and experience downgrades for some consumers. The current implementation of video on Apple Podcasts, according to Robles, doesn't allow for chapters or synced transcripts on shows with video. A quote from Robles, quote, "Paid subscribers in Apple Podcasts now get the worst experience of anyone who consumes our show. Subscriber audio still doesn't have chapters, Apple still strips out the ones in our MP3 file, and there's no video. I've had a number of people say they started supporting the show and ask how to get the video. Unfortunately, there is no option for subscriber video right now from Apple," end quote. Jackson notes Apple has been listening to creator feedback and guesses many of the items Robles identified as pain points are on Apple's roadmap for updates. For Robles, the short-term speed bumps are worth the overall audience gain from switching to Apple Podcasts HLS distribution. The HLS Podcast Radar. Speaking of Apple Podcasts HLS, it's been a busy week for hosting platforms announcing support for the new feature. John Spurlock has rolled out a list of video podcasts that use the alternate enclosure HLS tag, which enables both video and audio to be distributed on the same RSS feed. According to Pod News reporting, the alternate enclosure tag is not yet supported by Apple Podcasts, but is supported by Transistor, Fountain, Disktopia, RSS.com, Flightcast, and PeerTube. Apps like Fountain, Podcast Guru, Podcast Addict, and TrueFan support playback of alternate enclosure tagged feeds. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the world of HLS podcasting, Buzzsprout announced its video distribution to Apple Podcasts HLS this week is now out of beta and available to all users. Uploading a video to Buzzsprout automatically sends it to Apple Podcasts while distributing the audio across all platforms. As of this week, also, Podigee users have the ability to upload a video file once and distribute it out to major podcast platforms, both audio and video. The feature is available in every Podigee plan, with plans for more video destinations and future tools for video podcast workflows. And finally, Captivate has launched official support for Apple Podcast video distribution, including a handy official guide on setting up Apple Podcasts HLS video for a Captivate-hosted show. Campaign Management Updates, Pre-Booking 2026. A short but informative bit of news to end out today's recap top stories. Starting on July 15th, 2026, Megaphone will transfer campaign management over to Spotify Ad Server, or SAS. This will enable new formats, including video. According to Pod News, the ability to serve third-party ads via Video Ad Serving Template, or VAST, will be removed entirely. Pre-booking using the new system starts May 15th. Now it's time for quick hits. These are articles I've covered from throughout the week that are worth including in your weekend reading, even if they don't fit in the top stories section today. First up, the Q1 ACAST report shows North America remains a strong driver. Chief Communications and Brand Officer Lizzie Pollitt reports 43% organic growth in the region for Q1 2026. Signal Hill Insights President Paul Riesmandel examines what defines a hit in modern podcasting and what it means for the future of podcasts. Spoiler alert, it's good news. HealthPodcast.org has launched the Health Podcast Library, a repository of health podcasts hosted by credible experts. Research Director Incorporated Programming Research Consultant Steve Allen shares his biggest takeaway from reading Tom Webster's recent piece, 860 Thoughts About the Rumored SiriusXM and iHeart Deal. And finally, Steve Reyes argues that unglamorous admin work and strategy often limit podcast growth, yet most creator advice assumes they have unlimited time. He points to the infrastructure Ashley Flowers built out with her company AudioChuck, which established a team that could support a full roster beyond Flowers' own show, Crime Junkie. That was the download recap brought to you by Sounds Profitable and Podscribe. I know I go through the stories fast, so remember there is a link in your show notes that will take you to today's episode post on soundsprofitable.com, where you can access every link to everything I just talked about. You can also subscribe to the newsletter version to get the download direct to your inbox every day. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis. Our producers are myself, Brian Barletta, Molly DeMillier, and Tom Webster. Special thanks, as always, to you for sticking with me as I brought you all the top stories you might have missed from the past week in the business of podcasting. Robot.
Download complete.